All right, let's get started. Thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Maria, and we are here today. This call is hosted by a group called P Street, which is the People's Alternative to K Street and the sister organization to the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. We're excited today to be joined by some great Democrats in the House who have been fighting hard against Republicans' plan to shut down the government and jack up prices for Americans' health care. We also want to extend a huge thank you to our friend Sarah Christofferson for joining us here today. She's one of DC's leading experts on all things tax and budget. And we're really glad that she's here with us today. We are also glad to have members of the press here, including representatives from the New York Times, Bloomberg, AP, and many more. Just a few logistical notes. If you have questions for our panelists, please use the Q&A tool to let them know. Our team will send those questions over to the speakers and get those questions answered. As you have those questions, please send them over because some of our panelists will only be joining you for part of the time. So send them over as you have those questions. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. I'm going to pass it over to Progressive Change co-founder Adam Green.
Thanks, Maria. Hey, everybody. You know why we're here. They actually did it. President Trump and his Republican yes men and rubber stamps in Congress have shut down the government because they would rather bring our government to a standstill than protect health care for millions of Americans. It's really that simple. Our team at P Street, including Emma Leyden and Joe Van Wy, have been working with allies on Capitol Hill for months now to fight back against this lawless administration that's defying the courts, snatching people off the streets, dismantling government at the behest of billionaires, and attacking free speech in America. Many times when we ask PCCC members for stories about how issues impact their lives, or when thousands of you take our member surveys every month or so, we deliver those results to our friends in Congress to help them make their case with strength. We also share many of those results with the media, so keep it coming. Today, we'll hear from some of those Democratic members of Congress who are fighting back, really fighting for the health of the American people and the health of our democracy. Some of them are allies from swing states like Wisconsin and Nevada. Some of them have personally flipped red districts blue. One is a former Progressive Caucus chair, another is a former Congressional Black Caucus chair, and they are joining us on day one of this shutdown because the stakes are high, and Democrats and the public need to fight together with backbone until we win. And I gotta say, the outcome of this fight is something that will have huge ripple effects because Trump is a schoolyard bully. And if you let a bully get away with things, they just keep bullying and bullying. Hopefully, Chuck Schumer has finally learned that lesson. So let's be clear on the defining issue embedded within this fight. The ultimate goal of Trump and congressional Republicans is for the Affordable Care Act to be less affordable. This is their way of repealing the ACA. They couldn't get it done in 2017, so they're trying to get it done in a backdoor way in 2025. And as a result, a 6-year-old couple in Jacksonville, Florida, making $85,000 a year together, could see their premium skyrocket $21,339 next year. You heard that right. Their premium could increase by $21,339 next year. But again, Trump and his cronies want to go further. Just this summer, they took a hatchet to Medicaid at the behest of billionaires. They've already made healthcare even more expensive for families living below the poverty line at the behest of billionaires. Instead of working with Democrats, Trump is threatening to lay off federal workers who keep our food safe, our water safe, provide healthcare to those in poverty, and who are on the front lines during emergencies. And just yesterday, he threatened to withhold Social Security benefits and cut Medicare, something that he does not have the power to do. Why is he attacking these programs? Because Trump and his cronies believe that the wealthiest people in this country, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and even, yes, Donald Trump himself, deserve a big fat tax break. And that's the bottom line. They're dead set on dismantling healthcare on behalf of billionaires, and they've shut down the government to do it. So, on one optimistic note, all of us can take action today, and we'll ask you to do that during this call. And we all have to keep in mind that the best way to stop a bully is to stand up to that bully. So as you hear from our friends in Congress, please open the link that we'll put in the chat a couple times where you can share your story. Again, that's something that we share with members of Congress. Members of Congress have actually reached out to us actively soliciting stories from those who will be impacted by the shutdown so they can elevate them. Please ask your friends to do the same if you know someone who's impacted. Then please call your member of Congress at 202-224-3121, and we'll put that number in the chat as well. If your member of Congress is already fighting to save healthcare, tell them thank you, because thank you calls help encourage backbone when the going gets really tough, and it will. If your member of Congress is part of the MAGA crew shutting down the government, or if they are non-Republican senators who have the last name Fetterman, Cortez Masto, or King, all of whom voted with Republicans yesterday, please call them and tell them to knock it off and to work with Democratic leadership and groups like ours to turn the lights back on while saving healthcare. Because in our democracy, speaking out and making those calls is how we fight back. So if he is on the line right now, let me just check. Okay. We are waiting for Congressman Mike Levin, but we are thrilled to have on with us one of our favorite people and a wonderful expert on tax things which relate to all things, Sarah Christopherson. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself and give your take on this fight?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And hi, folks. I'm glad to be here with you. One thing that I think is getting lost in this discussion around the healthcare fight. You've probably heard that if Congress fails to take action, premiums for the Affordable Care Act plans are going to more than double, right? Who is that going to be affected? So we've heard about families, but it's also small business owners. It's also workers for small businesses and independent entrepreneurs. So about half of all the people enrolled in ACA plans, they're small businesses. Now, Republicans, when they passed their big brutal bill on a party line vote earlier this summer, they had a chance to deal with the expiration of the ACA credits, right? Or the subsidies, excuse me, the expanded subsidies. And they actively chose not to. Like they very much could have fixed this problem in their massive bill, and they decided not to. And that's sort of an intentional decision to, I think the technical term is screw over, small business owners and entrepreneurs and workers of small business companies, maybe leading towards more of that massive corporate consolidation that's affecting family farmers, result of the tariffs. There's a lot of different links you can tie, but I want to really emphasize that they could have fixed this issue. Not only did they not fix this issue back then, they made it worse. They took $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts and immediately turned around and used that quote unquote savings from kicking people off of healthcare and poured it into $1 trillion worth of tax cuts for the top 1%. So I think when we're hearing from Republicans now of, oh, just trust us, let's not worry, let's not talk about the ACA issue, let's not talk about the Medicaid cuts, just trust us. I think the time for trusting them to deal with this issue, that passed with the passage of the big brutal bill. And now I would really, really strongly echo Adam's call that Democrats have a fight for small business owners. They have a fight to protect the ACA and Medicaid and all of those people who are the backbone of sort of the economy in this country who are depending on that, right? And I think is just, Speaker Johnson and others say, oh, just trust us, we'll deal with this later. Sir, you had an opportunity and you chose to take $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts and give it to the top 1%. That is sort of unfathomable to me. And yet that's here why we are where we are right now, right? You cannot deny that kind of direct connection between their failure to act on this over the summer and here we are now in a shutdown.
And Sarah, let me just ask you one question before we hear from our friends in Congress. Based on, I know you deal with members of Congress a lot. How confident are you that Democrats across the Democratic caucus understand the high stakes in this fight and are girded for the battle ahead to kind of keep fighting with backbone?
That's an interesting question. I think everybody understands how high the stakes are. I think maybe to go off message a little bit, you saw how angry House members were at how things played out in March, right? So not only House members, but also some fury from the general public because there is a clear understanding if you don't stand up to bullies, you get more bullying, right? And I think how things played out in March is why we are sort of in this same situation now in September, right? Republicans didn't learn any lessons. They didn't stop illegally cutting federal employees. They didn't stop illegally attacking consumer protections and Social Security and all of these other things. They kept right on at it. So at some point, I would argue you have to draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough.
Yes. And last time we were actually one of the main groups that was publicly criticizing Chuck Schumer when he led, enough Democrats to join with Republicans to cave. And it's widely reported in the media that activism is part of why he is at least being strong on the front end of this fight. Based on what you've heard, do you think that the ongoing energy with the public, including people making phone calls, is having a tangible impact with the psychology of members of Congress?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would encourage all of your members and anyone who can hear me to double, triple, quadruple down on making phone calls. Um, by way of background, I worked for a member of two members of Congress for a decade, and I will just tell you phone calls work, right? Phone calls, emails, showing up to district offices, showing up to state offices, demanding to speak to someone. It works. It really does.
Nice. We're having one piece of technical difficulty with Mike Levin, who is really trying hard to get in here. So if Democrats fight with backbone to the extent that Mike Levin is fighting to get on this call, we're going to be in very good shape. Let me just ask you one, um, and I also want to invite Joe Van Wy from our P Street team to step in if he wants. One PCCC member question. Can you all explain the part of the Democratic proposal that would stop Trump from making more unilateral cuts? Thanks. It really hits on an issue that Trump has threatened to do now and really speaks to a point of leverage that Trump hopes will get Democrats to cave. Joe or Sarah, do you want to weigh in on that before we hear from Congressman Levin?
Well, I'll kick it to Joe because you've heard a lot from me already.
Actually, Sarah, do you want to take this one real quick? We're dealing with a couple of tech issues and trying to nail those down.
No, I do not, because now that I've been introduced as the expert on all things tax and budget, that's probably, Adam, the area that I know the least about. I mean, I'm fully versed in how, the threats Russ Vought has made, and frankly, the things that they've already attempted to do. I am less versed. I'm so focused on the ACA, you could tell. I'm less versed on what it is Democrats are proposing to get Donald Trump to, I don't know, follow the law and the Constitution.
Yeah, I will weigh in on one thing there. So, Trump will be Trump. Trump will always be erratic. He will always do things that hurt people. And if you were going to make a list of adjectives to describe Donald Trump, logical and operating in a kind of logical flow of things isn't necessarily the right way, right? You can deal with him on Monday and he will screw with you on Tuesday. So this was his main point of leverage 6 months ago. Chuck Schumer got scared by it. And this is a moment where Democrats can be clear. These are the folks, per everything that Sarah has already said. One second. These are the people who cut healthcare to give tax cuts to billionaires. And as long as we're disciplined in that message, it's really a race to see who caves first. Now, that being said, we have, I would say, a circa 2014 solution to our tech issue. I think we have Congressman Mike Levin on my phone. Hopefully, my mom doesn't call me while we're doing this call, but I'm going to try to put this in front of the screen, and folks can let me know if I'm holding it correctly. Congressman, I'm going to turn the volume up, and hopefully, folks, we were proud to endorse Mike Levin from California in his first race for Congress, and we're thrilled that he is here double time with us today. Can you hear us?
Can I hear you, Adam? You're looking at a lovely view outside your window, the way you have the
Okay. Sorry.
the improvisation here. We make things happen, whatever it takes, Adam. We make things happen. So hopefully people watching can see me. And I just want to say huge thanks to PCCC for everything all these many years. We need your help as never before. And look, it's very simple. The healthcare of millions of Americans is worth the fight. It is worth the fight. And we have to fight as never before for the health security of so many people. All you had to do is look at the Kaiser Family Foundation and the report that came out yesterday. Adam, I don't know to what extent you've talked about this, but it is so unbelievable to see what will happen if Republicans have their way and these ACA tax credits expire. The average that people will pay goes from around $900 a year now to over $1,900 a year next year. And if you're a couple, 60 years old, making $85,000 a year, your new premiums will go up $22,600. This is insane. And it'll mean that millions of people are priced out of the market altogether, including hundreds of thousands in my home state, the great state of California. We've got to fight like hell to prevent that from happening. And look, we just got to stay together. And we've got to remember what this is really all about. I keep going if you like, my friend.
Hey, Mike, I'll just ask you a question like this. So, Mike, how girded are Democrats for the fight? We've got a lot of PCCC member questions, and people want to know how girded are folks for the fight? You know, Trump's threat to shut down the government even more. How is that impacting the psychology of people in the caucus?
Tell you, for me personally, it just pissed me off. As an appropriator, I know it's illegal and unconstitutional what they're talking about with regard to large-scale reductions in force. They can't do that. So the law is very clear on this, that a shutdown triggers furloughs, temporary furloughs. So the government declares people as either essential or as non-essential, and they either are sent home on furlough or they have to work without pay. But in no event does a shutdown give the legal ability for, particularly for the budget director, to just go firing a bunch of people. So there's already a lawsuit that federal workers have filed in district court in California to try to enjoin preemptively any mass firing by Russ Vought, who we know wants to carry out the Project 2025 agenda any way that he can. And we're just going to fight back with the, all they've got is intimidation and bullying and mean-spirited garbage on social media. That's all they got. Because when you actually talk about the facts, when you talk about the data, when you talk about the harm that will be caused to millions and millions of Americans if they do what they want to do, you're damn right we're in this fight, and we're going to stay in this fight.
Great. And Mike, just to add a little bit of the political overlay here, you won a very, very competitive red to blue seat a couple cycles ago, have had a multiple cycle and competitive seat. What are the frontliners in your caucus thinking about the stakes in this moment? How confident are they in this fight? I saw John Ossoff, who has the most competitive incumbent seat in the Senate, vote with all the other Democrats yesterday, even while folks like John Fetterman voted with Republicans. What can you tell us about how those in the most competitive seats are thinking about the stakes and how to operate in this moment?
Well, what I can tell you about my fellow House Democrats is that we stand united. We know the stakes. We know this is about health care for millions of Americans that are about to lose their coverage or priced out of their coverage. And we can't allow that to happen. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Everybody needs health care. And we want quality and affordable health care for everyone in the United States of America. So we're united in that fight on the House side. As far as the Senate goes, what I'll tell you is I'm in touch with my senators, Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, and I'm proud of them. And I've encouraged them to please tell their colleagues that this is about the basic health care of every American, whether or not, in many cases, people have enough money to be able to provide for groceries or health care, or whether they're able to pay rent or get health care, is unacceptable in the United States of America, that anybody should have to choose between rent and health care or groceries and health care. So I hope that every single Senate Democrat, except for the couple yesterday, will just look at the facts on the ground, listen to their constituents, and understand that health care for millions of Americans is absolutely worth the fight.
Great. And then just to go to the other end of things with real in the weeds policy, One of our members writes, I am the widow of a federal employee and get part of his pension every month. I received my deposit today. Will the shutdown affect the November deposit? Do we have an answer on that?
Well, we can look into that and get back to you. What I will tell you is that the of the existing federal workforce, the government will determine who's essential and who's non-essential. People will be either furloughed or they will have to work without pay. Depending, in many cases, the pay is monthly. In some cases, it's twice a month. But people will get the pay on the back end after the government reopens. What is not acceptable is a wholesale destruction of government, using this as an excuse, using the shutdown as an excuse, as a wholesale destruction of government. That's what Russ Vogt, the out of control, lawless, partisan hack budget director, wants to do. And that's what we've got to stand up collectively against in the courts, as well as how we communicate.
Got it. And probably last question for you. We've encouraged people to take action to dial the congressional switchboard 202 224 3121. What is the impact of constituent calls in a high intensity, fast-paced moment like this?
It's huge. I'll tell you, it's huge. I listen every single day. I get a report, I get a readout every single day of what constituents are calling us about or emailing us about, texting us about. And that makes a big difference. And I think any member of Congress worth a damn is going to be looking at what people are saying. And the big problem that I see right now, Adam, is fear. I see these Republicans that they know that Trump is vindictive and is willing to try to primary them with somebody who's more MAGA. If they're deemed insufficiently loyal to MAGA and to the president, he'll primary them. And compounding that is that Mike Johnson's a historically weak speaker who is only there, because he's a good survivor and he does whatever Donald Trump wants. So one of the Republicans told me that, I asked, well, why don't you stand up for something now and then? And this member said, look, if we stand up to Trump, we get sideways with Trump. Nobody's got our back. And so Mike Johnson's, superpower is doing whatever Donald Trump wants. And that creates an environment where these rank and file Republican members are afraid to do much of anything at all. My comment to that is actually have a backbone, stand for something. There are other things to do with your life than just being, a cowardly, inconsequential, MAGA supplicant. And they ought to stand up and have a backbone.
Okay. We had an internal understanding that we would keep you on the line until you said the word supplicant. We're now into 12th grade lexicon and we can let you go. Thank you. You've always stood with us. We're proud to stand with you. Thank you for fighting for the people and giving us some of your time today.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Glad that worked out.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay. Thank you. One second. Okay. And Mom, if you're listening, thank you for not calling in that moment. That was a really important. glad we made that work. Before we hopefully have another member of Congress join us, my colleague Maria is going to read a few of the stories that we mentioned from PCCC members, and we'll drop the link in the chat for others to share their stories. Maria?
Yes. So again, please do keep sharing your own stories and the stories of folks in your communities. And we've received many stories over the last weeks and months as people have been scared of this shutdown and what it will mean for them. So just to put some faces and names to what's going on. Susan, who's from New York, says, healthcare cuts will ruin me. I depend on a rural hospital for ongoing care for several chronic conditions, including for breast cancer. I can't afford medications or the Part D premiums the way it is. And these are currently subsidized by a public payment program through my state's welfare program, which is being cut. My Medicare plan has just been canceled due to rising costs. I don't know what to do. And so this story from Susan, this story of fear of cost, fear of will I have care? Will this rural hospital be open that is my only choice, really? These are some of the fears that are coming to a head right now. We have Phyllis from DuPont, Georgia. I live in a very rural area in southern Georgia, and our county has a small but very important hospital that is in danger of being shut down with the latest GOP cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Premiums for health insurance are also being cut, and all of this are also going up. And all of this will equate to less individuals being able to access health care that they need. We are being priced out of the care that we need. Why is this happening in the land of plenty? All right. So those are two of the stories, two of millions of people in the United States who are concerned about their ability to get the care that they need, afford the care that they need, be able to travel to get the care that they need. And we'll continue to highlight these stories today and in upcoming days. But I want to pass it to Adam because I see that we have another member of Congress here with us.
Okay. First, I have a breaking news update. My mom texted me, "You're welcome." She she was intentional in not calling me mom. I love you. Thank you for that. Okay, Mark, if you want to turn on your video, I will put it up to the call if you can. For now, they will see your
Adam,
face.
I think we're going to Horsford first.
Is Congressman Horsford here?
Yes, he's on video right
Okay.
now. Sorry.
Congratulations on having one of the best computers in Congress. You made it onto our call. Thank you. Um, we are proud to have another person from a swing state and a swing district, proud former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and current chair of the CBC PAC. Congressman, tell us about the stakes in this moment and how Democrats are resolved to stand strong.
Adam, I'm actually here with my colleague, Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, as well as Congresswoman April and members of her community. We are out at Up County Regional Services Center, actually centering the voices and the lived experience of the people who are impacted by this Republican government shutdown that is now going into its 13th hour. We know that the cuts that are being impacted directly impact real people. This is not about one person in one office. This is about millions of Americans all across this country who are already experiencing the uncertainty of having access to their health care, of food assistance, of education services, impact to our veterans and our seniors. And the chairwoman of the Women's Democratic Caucus, Congresswoman Ledger Fernandez, organized members to be here today. And so while I'm out live here in Montgomery County, I wanted to dial in and let you know that we're doing the work to make sure that we center the voices of people. So I'm going to ask the Congresswoman to say hello and to say why she chose to bring everybody out here today.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. And we have been having an amazing tour. Here we have our wonderful April Delaney. I have a long name too. So we thought it was really important that we come to visit because a key question, right? We know who's to blame for this. Republicans have failed to govern because when they cannot pass government funding, they are failing to govern. But the question that we know needs to be answered is who is feeling the pain of their decision to say no to protecting healthcare? And Montgomery County has this amazing center that we have been brought to that, you can't see anything, but we are like all going, we want this in our communities, right? Because it is a one-stop shop where they are helping. We are seeing children go around. We are looking at providing dental care, housing, everything that you need. But each of these programs are under threat. Thank you. Each of these programs are under threat because of the federal cuts. They are under threat because of what Republicans are unwilling to do, which is protect people's health care and make sure that we are not paying more for health insurance premiums. And it's the whole gamut. It's also making sure that we have the housing she spoke with.
I think the one-stop shop is food security. It's housing, is healthcare. How they at this one-stop shop with our county executive
right here, Mark Mark Elrich right here, and all of our extended elected officials on a state and local level. But it's a one-stop shop that really allows anyone who needs help to come here and to gain health assistance, Medicaid, SNAP, all sorts of different things that really, I don't think there's very many places like this across this whole country, including mobile services within. So, but they are feeling the pain.
Yeah, they're going to be at risk. Yeah.
So again, just to reinforce, we're making sure that the very people who are impacted by the cuts and the ongoing effects of a Republican shutdown, that we're listening to them, we're learning from them, we're lifting up their voices because they're the reason we're in this fight. This is not about one person in one office. This is about millions of Americans across every party that's impacted. And so I want to thank P Street and the Progressive Change Coalition for your work in bringing us together in this conversation. But we're calling our Republican colleagues, first of all, Speaker Johnson, bring us back into session. Why did you cancel the votes this week when we should have been in session voting to prevent a shutdown? Number two, cancel the cuts to Medicaid, to SNAP, to Social Security, all the things that hurt working families. Number two, lower the cost. Families are already dealing with working harder and can't afford the essentials. And number three, save healthcare. That is what we're fighting for, and nothing more, nothing less. That is not partisan. That is about putting people over the billionaires that just got these big tax breaks. They made priority for them. Let's make priority for the working people of this country. So thank you again for allowing us this opportunity to come to you live from Up County Regional Services Center. And we're going to keep talking to the folks here and appreciate you, Adam. But let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, Stephen, thank you so much. I really love the authenticity you just brought us right into the room of folks who are collaborating in this moment. No one's been a longer time supporter of healthcare than you and many people in the Nevada delegation, including Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, who we were thrilled to support multiple times. Politico's Braxton Booker asked us if we could just get your thought on, are we confident that the Senate will hold strong? Do you have any thoughts on, where she fits into this moment, given the news in the Senate yesterday?
Well, look, I'm going to focus on the unity that Leader Jeffries has provided to get us to this point. As we know, we are unified in the House Democratic Caucus, standing for the American people and their right to health care. And because of Leader Jeffries' leadership, he worked across the Capitol with our Democratic Senate colleagues to make sure that we're unified. I know that now the focus is on, can they get one or two or three Democrats to break? But I understand the vote just happened today and no additional Democrats voted with the Republicans. And that is because we stand with the American people and their right to health care. Health care is not only a human right, it is an economic imperative. We can't have the quality of life we need or the economic opportunity that people want if they don't have access to affordable health care. So I am the lead Democrat on the Ways and Means Committee that has been bringing the amendments to extend permanently the enhanced premium tax credits. I've asked my Republican colleagues now on numerous times to join with me to pass that legislation. Not one Republican has been willing to break from Donald Trump to join with Democrats to do something that protects their own constituents. And so that is what I'm going to continue to focus on. I know that's what P Street and the Change Coalition, the Progressive Change Coalition, is focused on. Let's put the attention on the Republicans who are capitulating to Donald Trump and refusing to do their job.
Sounds perfect. And the unity has been remarkable in the House, especially under Leader Jeffries' leadership in the last several weeks. So one last question for you is kind of a two-parter. It's been remarkable that in the face of Donald Trump making threats to shut down parts of the federal workforce, Democrats have remained unified. And so can you just tell us about the psychology of your colleagues? Why are they staying unified given those threats? And what is the impact of public phone calls at 202-224-3121 to members of Congress at this moment?
So the power is always with the people. And when the people speak up all across the country and focus their effort and their energy on forcing their elected official, representatives and the senators, to do their job. We have a duty. And as a member of Congress, I'm here doing the duty that the people of Nevada's 4th elected me to do. And that's to fight for them every single day to advance their interest. And in this case, it is to save their health care, to cancel the cuts and to lower costs. That's what I'm focused on. And there's nothing that will take away the power of the people. Donald Trump doesn't have more power. Members of Congress and the Senate don't have more power. It's the people that have the power. And when the people rise up, speak up, we will be heard and we will deliver. And I think that the unity that you're seeing right now in Congress by the House Democratic Caucus, led by Leader Jeffries, is in large part because we've been listening to the people. Leader Jeffries got out and started really doing listening and visioning discussions. He came to Las Vegas. He was in Milwaukee. He's been in Pennsylvania. He's been traveling the country doing what? Listening to people. And what the people told us is that they want affordable health care. They want permanent tax relief so that they can keep their health care. They want access to economic opportunity so that they can afford housing and childcare and to make sure that they can afford to pay for the groceries at a time when Donald Trump's policies are making life harder and more expensive. The American people want policies that actually make their life easier and more affordable. That is what we're working for. And that is why what you're doing and the organizing on the ground is so incredibly important. So thank you again for allowing me to jump on. I know it was some technical issues there, but finally got in. And if people want to know more information, they can always go to my website at horsford.house.gov. We have a special page on our website with up-to-date information on the shutdown, what its impacts are, and people can submit questions directly to me so that we are responding to those questions in a real-time basis.
You've been a very effective messenger in this moment. Thank you for your time today, Congressman. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Take care.
All right. I don't know if you all heard a call coming in before. If so, it was not my mom. It was Congressman Mark Pocan, who I'm going to once again hold my phone to the screen. But first, my colleague Maria has a quick comment.
That you should move Mr. Congressman Pocan up a little bit. There
Yes.
you go.
Oh, and a reminder, any media or members who have a question, please just type it in the chat and we'll try to get it asked. Congressman, we did it. We fought together to make this happen.
Doubt. And, I'm still in Washington. Obviously, we Democrats came here to try to find a solution that would also save people's health care as well as keep the government open. Republicans are on vacation back home. They haven't showed up. Donald Trump shows how serious he is about this by posting videos of racist doctoring of a Democratic leader. What we need to do is get the message out to people about what's at stake, and it's healthcare for 15 million people. But honestly, it's the cost of healthcare for all of us. That's what's at stake. Republicans are trying to say that we're fighting for healthcare for I'll use different terms than them, undocumented people. Look, bottom line is no federal dollars. I serve on appropriations. No federal dollars go to undocumented people through Medicare, Medicaid, or the Affordable Care Act. It's just a complete lie. And we need to get that information out. We can all share that information and push back. That's the best they got. I feel pretty comfortable on this fight. Adam, I've had 35 calls from Saturday to this morning, which is like nothing, about the shutdown. Most people in Wisconsin aren't going to feel the impact for a little bit unless they're contacting a federal agency. It does have big impacts. But I can tell you, we ran from the beginning of the year. I've had 14,435 contacts this year alone on healthcare. People care about their healthcare. If you can't afford your rent or mortgage, you don't have healthcare for your family, you're in crisis. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And we just need people to get that information out, that they're willing to lie about their vote. And their vote, to be real clear, was to get a tax break for their donors, for Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the richest in this country. And they did it by stealing healthcare from average people. So that's what we're talking about. That's why we're here in Washington. And I appreciate all that you and PCCC is doing. But we got lots more to do. But getting that information out through your social media is super helpful.
All right. Thank you, Congressman Pocan, for being here, even if it is through double screens, which is a little wonky. But we have a question from Bill Barrow at AP. Is there a time frame for when a shutdown would cause too much harm to the economy that Republicans might convince more voters to blame Democrats? How do you make sure that the message on healthcare breaks through with the electorate since the cuts haven't gone into effect yet, which speaks to something you were speaking about?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we all know in the next 2 weeks, every person across the country who's on the Affordable Care Act will likely get their new rates. In Wisconsin, it's mid-October when we get that information. Kaiser Foundation has told us a couple that's 60 years old, making $85,000 in my district, could see up to a $16,000 increase in their health care. Those are real numbers, and that's going to wake people up. But people already get it. We see the more than 20-point gap on the big ugly law. We know that even though they're not going to take Medicaid away till after the next election, people are going to be impacted by this. And when you talk to the hospitals in rural places like Wisconsin, and suddenly people are going to come in and they're going to need health care and they're going to get health care. But if no one's there to pay for it because they've been kicked off of either Medicaid or they can't afford the Affordable Care Act, suddenly that cost gets shared with all of us. So we're all going to pay more for health insurance because of what the Republicans did in that big ugly law so that they could give a tax break to their donors. It's really that simple. So I'm fine with that debate. They'll lie and say it's going to undocumented people. Will show that that's simply not true. We'll continue to counter whatever stupidity they put out there. Somehow we're giving transgender operations in Paraguay was my favorite. I saw them put out there. Look, people are not dumb, and if they're seeing rate increases, they're already paying more for groceries because we're not dealing with affordability, and the tariffs are making costs go up. Durable goods, especially with the holidays coming up, are going up. Our energy costs, because of what they did with the big ugly law, are going up, and then our healthcare is going to go up. So people are going to get it because they're going to feel it in their pocketbooks. And we just have to keep stressing what they did was wrong, and we're going to fight for 15 million people that are going to lose health care and everyone else that's going to pay more.
So I have another question building on this from Dave Weigel. So Republicans say that this line about healthcare for undocumented immigrants is based on Democrats wanting to restore the one big bill's cuts to emergency Medicaid, which can benefit non-citizens who are not eligible for Medicaid. He says that's a thin read, but why don't Democrats want to prevent any of that money from going to non-citizens?
So that's such a small part, and I serve on appropriations, of where it could go, maybe if kind of possibly that, think about it. In their big ugly law, the tax break for so-called working people on tips and overtime and for seniors and on auto loans is less than 5% of their bill. All the rest tax breaks go to the wealthiest in this country. So to say we know directly no funds can go to an undocumented person through Medicare, Medicaid, or the Affordable Care Act. And that's the lion's share, the more than lion's share of what they're cutting. So call it out. It's bullshit, right? Call it out as bullshit and make sure we get that across. And if Republicans are still afraid to do town halls, because they're still cowering in their basements, I'll go to anyone's district and have this debate with them. So, it's their argument. And the other argument is because some states provide health insurance to people who are undocumented. That's not federal dollars. So guess what? The word is again bullshit. We need to call out the Republicans' absolute bullshit on this subject.
So I'm curious, we've been obviously advocating for people to make calls, either like thanking their member for standing strong and fighting for healthcare and to protect Americans, stand up against the billionaires. So one, what are the value of calls? Also, what else should people be doing right now except for calling out bullshit?
Yeah, first of all, and most important, is share the right information on social media because they are lying. So it's simple. You're just sharing the truth and put that out there. So we counter that and it takes away their strongest, and I'm waving fingers for people who aren't seeing it, strongest arguments. But two, those calls matter. Every week, people like me and Congress get a report of everyone who's called, emailed, or sent a letter to us on any subject. And we do look at it to see where the intensity is on issues. And even if your member you think agrees with you, it's important for us to see the intensity of any given issue where people are. So still reach out to your member of Congress. Make it your muscle memory so you're doing it all the time. But my request right now is to share the accurate information, the truth, via social media, that this money is not going to undocumented people, that this is not about transgender surgeries in Paraguay and any other stupid ideas that they're putting out there. And there are plenty of them because I follow Chip Roy and Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, just put the truth out. And that's going to help us tremendously as we're moving forward.
Great. And Mark, I have one final question for you. How will we know when we're winning? What is the psychology of your Republican colleagues or the Trump White House that will give us some indicators that we're on the verge of winning this thing or having some positive momentum on our side?
Look at polling as you look at polling, and we know the big ugly law is lopsided by over 20 points on every single poll that's out there. And that's because some people don't know what's out there. It'd be lopsided by even more when you find out that every single person is going to pay more for healthcare because of their law. Because when people don't have healthcare, they're going to go to the hospital, they're still going to get the care, but someone's got to pay for it. It's going to be all of us. So we'll see by how Republicans come up with their new lie as each lie gets taken down. But if they're already on, transgender surgeries in Paraguay, that was like number 470 on my list of possible arguments. I think that's telling us already they're going to come into this pretty factless, and we can push back on that. So, but help us get the information out. Healthcare is one of the most essential things for any family. If you don't have it, the broader discussion someday we need to have, which is why are we the only industrialized country without universal health care? I want to have that someday, but right now the argument is 15 million people could lose their health care, and all of us will pay more so that the donor class of the Republican Party gets a tax break, and that's the message we need to send.
Okay, Congressman Pocan, I think I have one more question for you from Jacob at Scripps, and it's kind of a long question, so I'm going to read it clearly and hopefully you follow. If GOP leaders agree to schedule a vote on ACA subsidy extension in exchange for a short-term CR, is that something Democrats should support? That's the first question. And then more broadly, how is the caucus approaching appropriations independent of the ACA issue, given that the administration appears to be impounding previously appropriated funds quite regularly? Do Democrats have any commitment that programs approved by Congress will be implemented?
So the first one is a hypothetical, and there can be many hypotheticals. Look, let's just see where things are at when we're all here. That's the first thing next week. I think the second part brings up a point. I'm glad because I did not say it, and this is also important to put out there. It's being argued that this is just continuing spending until mid-November like we always have done before. That also is in the category of bullshit. And here's why. In November, we had an agreement with Republicans, which they immediately broke. In May or March, when we had the other agreement this year, Again, they allowed the administration to do rescission of funds that were agreed to by both Democrats and Republicans in Congress, and they broke their agreement by letting the president steal funds through rescission. So if you can't trust them and to lock in the both breaking of the agreement in December and the continued rescissions this year, that's not a continuing resolution. That's called a Republican wet dream. And I'm not giving in to that wet dream. So it's important that we stress this is not like an ordinary CR, and there needs to be the fight that we're doing on this, because it's, while focused largely on healthcare, and I don't want to get lost in process, but if you can't trust the people that you're negotiating with, because the last two times you did, they didn't live up to promises, it makes it very hard to have those negotiations. So at least on healthcare, hopefully we can have a concrete win.
All right. Thank you again, Congressman Pocan, for being here with us today, for sticking out the tech challenges. Thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate you always. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Before we close it out for today, I just want to pass it over to Sarah once again for any final thoughts on what's happening, what we should be doing, anything from our resident expert.
Well, I want to just reiterate strongly what Congressman Pocan said right before he ended, which is that we need to walk out of this fight having won something concrete, immediate, actionable right now, or we cannot trust people who have proven to be not negotiating, not making promises in good faith, not keeping their promises, right? And so I really would urge everyone, if you care about healthcare, if you care about your own healthcare, because whether or not you're enrolled in an ACA plan, Congressman laid out some reasons why it's going to affect all of us. There's a whole sort of cascading effect when premiums skyrocket like this. It is going to have a massive economic effect on all of us if this does not go into effect. And promises and, wishes and, well, just trust us, like I said earlier, that can't cut it right now. We are really at that deadline where we have to have actual legislation passed into law to fix this issue. And so you heard every single member of Congress say, call us whether you think that we are already on board with you. Call us if you think there's no way in hell that we would support your position. Make your voice heard. We really do listen to it. And I cannot say that enough, how much it helps.
Well,
and thank you all.
Thank you again, Sarah. Thank you to the 5 members of Congress who ended up joining us. It was really awesome to hear from some of them who are already out talking to folks directly impacted by this impending attack on healthcare and this assault that will jack up prices for people across the United States. I know the thing that I've been thinking about a lot in the last 2 days is I heard about Mayo Clinic in Minnesota is closing 6 of its smaller clinics across the southern part of the state. And I also heard from actually someone running for Senate about how her dad ended up not doing dialysis. Like, he quit dialysis because he had to travel 2 hours each way just to get dialysis. And when you're sick and tired and been traveling a lot, like 4 hours of driving to get dialysis often is just too much. And that's part of what's going on too. This assault on rural hospitals, rural communities is really scary. So appreciate all of the work that these members are doing to fight back on behalf of the American people. Thank you all for being here today. Be sure to share your stories of how the shutdown is impacting you and your community and your loved ones. Share your story, listen to Congressman Pocan, and make sure that you're sharing out what this really is about, and keep making your voices heard in this fight. It's a scary and overwhelming time, and each of these actions that we take together matter. So thank you for being here.